Welcome to Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension.
Welcome to another podcast episode of Merkaba Chakras. I'm your host, Vaughn Galt, and today we talk about using Christ consciousness energy healing frequencies to detox from EMF radiation and repair damaged DNA using Blue Shield technology in a life-size regeneration pod modeled using sacred geometry like Buckminster Fuller's buckyballs with Dr. Matthew Martinez. So with that, Matthew Martinez, welcome to Merkaba Chakras. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. This is an honor. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for taking the invitation. I have been following your work and I love the latest product line. I feel like I'm in like a spaceship. So before we
It is. It's almost a spaceship.
I love it. I love it. It's your physical Merkaba in a regen tank.
Yeah, totally regen tank. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty cool.
Okay, before we dig into the work and show everyone what a buckyball regeneration pod for DNA regeneration looks like that Dr. Martinez created for us, let's get into how you even got into this work. So I talked to a lot of doctors, and many of them have very metaphysical backgrounds. So let's begin with your childhood. You had a childhood experience where you met a Manihuni. So can you explain what a Manihuni is and your background?
Yeah, Menehunis are what we refer to as Hawaiian leprechauns. There are resident kind of little spiritual beings. You know, I believe, and most people who live in Hawaii believe that they can slip in between the veils of dimensions. And so, yeah, I had an experience at like 8 years old that was so vivid. And it started out with chest pressing. So most people understand that, you know, sleep paralysis or chest pressing is where an entity will come and communicate with you. And most people think it's a menace or it's a terrible experience because they lose control. But what I think it is that they're communicating in a way that we haven't developed yet, or we don't have quite an understanding. You know, we speak through our vocal cords, you know, via our cranial nerves from our brain, and we construct words, and we have many languages. But they communicate through frequency. They communicate through a thought process. And for us, it works in certain centers of our brain that we're not used to. And so it can be very alarming to people. But I had great parents, and they were both spiritual parents, and they told me that, you know, they want to talk to you. Just invoke the protection of your ancestors, invoke the protection of loved ones and higher self and higher spiritual. And I did that. And when I did that, I noticed that I was surrounded by a green energy and a language I didn't understand. And, you know, I grew up with Tahitian in the house. I grew up with Spanish in the house. I grew up with English. And I'm like, I don't know what that language is. And,
right. Your mom is
Tahitian.
And your father is
Ecuadorian.
And how did they meet?
And they met in Hawaii. They met in Hawaii, and then they migrated to California, then back to Hawaii. But yeah, they met here in the agriculture stuff. And so I'm that product. And so a lot of good, you know, ancestral vibes there. And what's interesting is that with all of that, it kind of prepared me to not fear some of the paranormal. You know, it wasn't like, okay, this is bad, this is demonic, this is, you know, all of these things. I'm just like, I want to know, I want to talk to you as well. And so we did have a moment of communication. And that was my very first one that I remember. But then I've had, you know, loved ones that have passed that have come and spoken to me. And I've had some other big entities that I've dealt with, or spirits that I've dealt with. And this can kind of go right into how I got started in building technology was through Ramtha and Jay-Z Knight. And the Blue Room was the first big piece of regenerative technology I was involved with. And it came about, Jay-Z was a patient of mine. And I
what
really
kind
knew
of
nothing about.
doctor? What kind of doctor are you?
Well, I'm alternative health. Started out with like doing urgent care style medicine,
Mm,
chiropractic care, and it kind of evolved into a well-rounded from anything from
naturopathic.
naturopathic stem
Mm-hmm.
cell work, peptide work, and then it really got into frequency, frequency
Mm-hmm.
and vibration, and understanding how important that is for everybody's health. And we miss it. We're okay at the physical health. We're so at the spiritual health, and we're terrible at the what we call the third dimension health, or that connection to our spirit realm. And I know that Tesla said that if we would study more of the paranormal, we would make more advances in technology than we ever thought possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of it that I really want to delve in this later part of my career. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years now, and I really want to get into more of connecting that physical, spiritual, emotional connection and helping people. I don't think we're going to advance unless we do that.
Right, right. And the thing that I want to ask about your upbringing. Okay, so your first childhood experience with the Manihuni, which is they're kind of like leprechauns in
Yeah,
Hawaii.
that's
Okay,
what we call them, Hawaiian leprechauns.
they're
Yeah.
kind of like Hawaiian leprechauns,
Mhm.
but they're positive and they're not going to bug you. They're not devious or anything.
Right.
And this would be equivalent because there's always a yin and a yang in everything.
Mhm.
And what oftentimes people understand these little beings is they sometimes some cultures call, like in Muslim, they call them the
Right.
jinn, and those are the negative versions.
Yeah.
They'll have devious
Right.
plans. Well,
Right.
everything has a positive and a negative. So the opposite of the jinn are the manihunis. These are positive,
Right.
Christ consciousness, higher frequency leprechauns. So
Yeah, I would like to say that. Yeah.
yeah, so that just for people to understand how does this play into there's the positive and negative. So there's the light and the dark, the
Right.
Manihunis and the Jinn. And the thing is that both of them have the ability to kind of be interdimensional. They play in the fourth dimension or in the
Yeah.
non-physical dimensions. And so they're able to kind of play around with reality a little bit. So it's just an aspect of this existence. And what most people don't understand is they recognize the little minions of the jinn, but they never hear of the positive
Right.
manihunis or the positive leprechauns that are really loving and also very high frequency and helping people to work towards that pathway. So
Right.
but the one that you came across, what did this one look like?
They looked a lot like the gray aliens that we have pictures of all over the place. I don't know if they're different or not. I never thought to ask that, but
Mm,
but they seem to be very calm to me, very calm creatures. I mean, we do have our mythology here in Hawaii that they can be tricksters. They can take
mm-hmm,
your tools, or they can do something, and I have had some experiences like that, but it's always playful. Like they're
mm-hmm.
just waiting for you to learn how to speak to them or communicate with them. And I think that part is really sweet. I love that aspect of Hawaii.
Right, right. So some more interesting things for people when they're listening to this stuff to
Yeah.
kind of understand. You have your angels, you have your ancestors, you have your manihunis, you have a whole posse that you guys have no clue is functioning in the background. But
Right.
so they were kind of poking and playing with you growing up, and then it led to a series of synchronicities that led to you meeting um the people that you met to eventually create Blue Shield technology. So
Right.
let me share a video of what is Blue Shield, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so you're looking at the life vessel. This is what I call our paradigm of a healing chamber. It's dodecahedron in shape, which is the flower of life. And if you understand what the flower of life is, it's actually a cross-section of our DNA when you look at it. And it's in all of our mythologies, in every culture you can imagine. The flower of life is basically what we are down to our base, our DNA, our genes. And this is reflective of that. But also when you get into the universe, Plato said that the universe is a dodecahedron shape, which is interesting enough. Our astronomers today actually have proven that. So we are a reflection of the universe. I mean, we know that from different religious bases, but that's where this came from. It came from a little bit of help from above, a little bit of me, a little bit of spiritual guidance. And we've had some great success in helping people recover from a lot of different pathology. But where I love to see it work, really, for me, it's really amazing, is something that's all too common nowadays, is the anxiety, panic attack, depressive disorders that have really, especially in the past 3 years, have manifested into what I consider to be a major pandemic. You know, of course, we have a lot of toxemia issues from a lot of different things, and this can help also, but where it really shines to me is, I don't know if you've ever had anxiety before.
Yeah, I've had it a couple times. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be a prison. You know, it can be that horrible place you're stuck in, and there is no help. You know, I mean, we prescribe more antidepressants and more antipsychotics than any other, the US does in any other country, but we have the highest rate of depression and there's many reasons for that. But here's something that you don't have to take a pill. You know, you don't have to do a procedure. You can get into, and it makes a world of difference. And then we can talk about the cellular regeneration that I've seen on the other side. But for me, that's a great part because I've had anxiety before. And, you know, in fact, I mean, all of the things manifest like, oh my God, am I having a heart attack? You know, am I out of my mind? You know, what is this? I'm going to the ER, you know, I want to get checked out. And, you know, it can lead to a lot of things. It can lead to relationship problems, work problems, social economic problems, you know, obviously. And this is something that can really make a difference.
Right. So the thing that really caught my attention about this is, so when you were working with Miss Knight in Olympia, Washington, which is not far from where I am, so I just missed you, darn it.
I know.
But when you were working with her on Blue Shield, or the Blue Room, which is her company's version of energy healing in the Blue Room, right. There is that blue light technology that is in both technologies. Why the blue light? What does the blue light do?
They're actually different. So the Blue Room uses UVB light. It's medical grade UVB light. And Jay-Z and I started the company. And how this all began, this is a really cool story. This is really cool. So, you know, I had been Jay-Z's doctor for a number of years. And she wanted to have lunch with me because she wanted to ask me a couple questions about something. And I'm like, sure, I have a little time. Let's have some lunch. And she sat down and she said, you know, when I leave my body and I go out to certain places, I've been shown something that I think if I can make it manifest here, it would help a lot of people. And I said, okay, well, describe it to me. Well, she described the Blue Room. And of course, 1,000 different things pop into your head, you know, as a doc, and you're like, okay, you know, this is really cool, or, you know, I don't know if I want to get involved in this. And after she was done presenting to me, she said, hey, do you think we could make that happen here? And I said, I have no idea, but how cool would it be to find out? So that was kind of my job. And we started a company together, and she was, you know, 60% of the business and I was 40%, but my job was to make it manifest. You know, she had the idea. And so the very first Blue Room was in my practice in Olympia, Washington in 2014. And, you know, then I had a wild ride, you know, the next 6 years, taking it all over the world and, you know, putting it in all the different countries and seeing all the beautiful things that happened. But the lighting, so UVB is a very important light for us. That's what we need to manufacture vitamin D. So again, our genetic makeup, just from light, we are able, when light hits our skin, if we have the right, you know, magnesium levels, we have the right cholesterol levels, we make our own vitamin D. I mean, it's pretty magical when you think about it. We don't need to take a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do anything else. You manufacture that. Your body knows how to do that just from light, which kind of backs up that we are from the stars somehow. I mean, anyways. So learning what I did from the Blue Room and having some help, I'll tell this story when you're ready, but having some help from some celestial beings, that this was the next generation. So I use different spectrums of light, anywhere from infrared to UVB, UVA, and then a mixture of full spectrum lighting in the life vessel. So there's multiple different light streams. And the reason why I decided to do that was learning the abundant, obvious things that were wonderful about the Blue Room, that I wanted to do something a little bit better. They're like comparing apples and oranges. They're both wonderful. They're both just different. They work a little bit differently.
Right.
And so that's how the life vessel came to be. It was that next evolution.
So you worked with Miss Knight to create the Blue Room, and then learn and got the experience that you needed from the Blue Room, and then decided to jump off and create another company with the Blue Shield Tech
Right.
in the Regen Pod that you created. So before we get into the design of the Regen Pod, what I want to know is, who are the celestial beings that were working with you to engineer the pod?
This is a great story. Gosh, I've had such a blessed life, and so when I go about thinking about this, and I'm writing a book about all this right now. All my different experiences with different beings, I've been really blessed with this. But I was in Switzerland in 2018, and I just got finished installing a Blue Room. And I'm staying in Switzerland with some people who had bought a Blue Room from us. And we had a lovely evening. I had a question to answer in a big meeting. Lots of people showed up. And I went to sleep that night. And immediately, as soon as I fell asleep, I was out of my body. I don't know if you've never had that feeling. It's hard to describe. It's when you're out of your body. It's instant. You go, okay, I'm not attached to my body. Where am I? And I was on board what I would call a spaceship, and I was above the Earth, and I was like in a hangar bay. And there's an alien that was all blue, very tall, standing next to me.
How tall was the blue humanoid?
Well, I'm 6'5". So I'm very tall. Mm-hmm. So it had to be at least 7 feet.
Oh, not that much taller. That's kind of a tall human.
Okay. I'm looking up. Okay. And then I looked over, and I was standing in the middle of 9 other blue beings that were even taller. They had to be 9 feet. And I'm like, how can I be standing here? And how can I be standing over there? And I looked at the blue being, and there weren't words. They're not words. It's telepathy. It's communication on that level. It's a frequency. Mm-hmm. And she said to me that your personality is here with me, and your God, who you really are, is over there getting the download. Mm-hmm. And when your personality is ready to be one with your God, all of this is going to be manifest to you in your mind. You're going to understand why you're here. So that was back in 2018. And I remember waking up from that dream going, okay, what was that about? I'm like, holy crap. Okay, all my experiences, I didn't freak out, but I'm going, okay, this is insane. This is fantastic. I mean, and so Jay-Z is one of my great friends and one of my mentors. And so, I told her about it. She says, you were getting a download. You're getting a wonderful gift. He said, just hold tight with this. And so over the course of 2018 into 2019, I had many visits from them, and they were helping me to understand how to do this technology, which is called the life vessel. Right. And explaining to me platonic solids, which are the geometrical shapes, sacred geometry, understanding about the universal communication or language that is what our genetics speak, and to tell me that something was coming, that this technology would be pivotal for the people on Earth. And a lot of people are going to go, okay, man, you're full of it, this, and I'm like, yeah, I can understand how there can be doubt, and I doubted myself. I doubted all these experiences, but what kept me solid, and this is really important, is that I grew up with this. This hadn't been the first time, and I had faith in what my experiences were to manifest this, and the proof is in the manifestation of this. I'd like to say, yes, I'm a genius. This all came from me, blah, 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 blah. That's really not the truth. The truth is that I think what makes me different is that I have an open mind, and I want to communicate. I want to learn. I want to understand. And I believe there's more technology coming to help us. I believe that these beings are beautiful, safe, helpful beings that look at us and where we are in our history and go, okay, I want to help you guys. I'm going to help you guys get to this next level of your walk as beings.
Right. That's actually very common with most of my guests. So
I hear that. So I feel like I'm the only weirdo out there.
Oh no, they all have PhDs, masters, engineering degrees,
right.
own companies. Actually, there was a study that most of the billionaires and multimillionaires are extremely metaphysical, and they open up the remote viewing aspect of their brain.
Oh yeah,
so
I 100% believe that.
they're just using their psychic abilities to kind of tune into the opportunities. But but and I'll put that link in the show description if you guys want to go down that geeky rabbit hole. But
yes,
but for the Merkaba Chakras podcast listeners, they are very interested in how did this doctor, this scientist, this person get into the space. Right. Oftentimes, it is they reach a certain point in their spiritual awakening and spiritual evolution that they got to a certain frequency where they now are ready for the next part or the next information that sets them on their course to complete the incarnation they came here for. And that part needs some help from higher dimensional, interdimensional, or non-physical beings. So this is what I'm fascinated about is your spirit posse that kind of helped you out with engineering this, because every single one of the people who created sacred geometry or basically energy healing technology has help. They didn't come up with it themselves, because this is completely beyond third dimensional mindsets. So these blue beings, first of all, do you know what the craft was like, or you just saw the inside?
It was a massive craft. I mean, it was so big that just the hangar bay that I was allowed to be in was at least 3 to 5 football fields, that I could experience. And when I've been back, I'm only allowed to be in this one particular area. I'm not allowed yet, and they keep telling me yet until I keep evolving in my spiritual side, and that takes work on our part. And for me, I'm not really worried about that. I want to be the right way to put this. I want to be in the place I need to be at the right time to make the biggest impact for us, a human race.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then the other thing is these are very giant or tall. Are they humanoid shapes? Because you had the Manihuni gray leprechauns of Hawaii. So these are tall humanoids, giant humanoids. Do they look like people, or did they look different?
They look like people. They don't wear their anatomy on their sleeves like we would. Like, obviously you can tell a woman from a man. It's more of their energy that is either divine feminine or divine masculine. It's very beautiful that way. So, but they are humanoid. They don't have hair. They have beautiful blue skin, hairless, beautiful blue skin. They're very sweet. They're just very, very
Do they wear clothes? Do they wear clothes? I'm curious.
They don't wear clothes. They don't have to wear clothes.
They don't have to wear clothes. Clothes are okay. They're all natural.
Yeah, well, it's like they don't have genitalia like we have.
Okay.
So there isn't anything for them to hide. And I think they have a way of, you don't even think about that when you're with them.
Yeah.
That sexual energy is very, very first seal or first chakra. And they're very much beyond that. They're way up in their seventh seal. That's where they want to be. And that's what they're really trying to get
to help
us to
humanity with.
understand, is that it's a very, very low grade energy for us to be in that constantly. And I can go into my theories about how that is perpetuated in our world.
Right,
Is
right,
that so much of that energy?
right. What's interesting, Dr. Martinez, is that the ancient Buddhist and Lemurian folklores of Asia and the Pacific Islands talk about, and in Hinduism with
Yeah.
Vishnu and all the ancient teachers. They're not gods. We
Shiva.
call them gods. Yeah, Shiva and all the others. They all were like blue humanoids that
Yeah.
that had came in and seeded and kind of immersed themselves into the planet. But over and over again, we go back to this blue humanoid. So that I find
Always.
that very fascinating that you had that same thing, and that follows right in line with a lot of the ancient Buddhist folklores and Lemurian
Yeah.
folklores and the Hindu folklores. But they said something to you. They said that body is your God. What do they mean by that?
Um, this is where it gets for me very beautiful, very, very cool. Each one of us, we have really a lack of understanding the depth of what we really are. We tend to be very superficial. We tend to all be developed in this personality. We're given a name, and we tend to develop this personality based on our environment. But there's something deeper to all of us. There is this beautiful spirit, soul, your God, whatever you want to call it, that is eternal. And it's you, it's your energy, it's your signature. And if I was to take some instrumentation reading of you, you would have a different atomic signature than I have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And these beings know that when you first have a meeting with them, you're not even, most of us, I don't care who you are, Buddha all the way up, there's an evolution for all of us. There is a wonderful adaptation to us becoming what we are going to eventually become. People call it your soul contract, whatever it is. You came here to do something. But mine, I wasn't out of my, I guess, smallness. I wasn't out of my small thinking. I wasn't into the fifth dimension. I was still thinking three-dimensionally. And that limits your experience. And so I had to separate my beings from my personality to my God. And they're so kind to be gentle with that part of us because they understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my soul, my God, was able to have a meeting with them and start the work that I was eventually supposed to be doing. I think I was behind. That's what I
Right.
really think it was. I was
Right.
behind in my journey. And they're like, okay, we're going to speed this up here. You're a little behind in your journey for whatever reasons. And so your personality is going to stay over here. Don't worry, you got a guide, and we're going to get to work. And so I
Right.
had to play catch up. And so there was a lot in my personal life and in my journey that I had to take care of before I really started getting downloaded with this other things. And there's more coming. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
beautiful part.
Yeah. So basically, in essence, they basically said your God is basically your essence, your spirit, which is not separate from the creator. Okay, because the
Can't be.
creator can't see separation in his body. You don't see your arm is separate from your leg is
Totally.
separate from your head. It's one unity. But
Absolutely.
if you focus on that specific little piece of the fractal essence of God, it will be Dr. Martinez, Von Galt, et cetera, et cetera. So when these humanoid quote quote higher dimensional alien beings said your God is your body,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're referring to, your essence of that whole aspect of the creator. Now, it just basically sounds like they're like, okay, we gotta check your ego and your
Pretty
ID
much.
at the door,
100%. Yeah, it's pretty
and
much.
we
It's like,
got
yeah.
yeah,
It was the
and
equivalent of me trying to get into a bar and I'm not 21 yet. Like,
yeah,
no,
they're like,
yeah,
we gotta check this ego ID identification, this kind of stuff at the door, and
yeah,
move on and talk to your higher self, give your higher
right.
self the download, and then slowly get the avatar working
Yeah, yeah.
towards the things that you need to do. So now
Right.
comes the other part I'm curious about. What is
Mhm.
coming to humanity that
Oh,
they're preparing everyone for? Because you're not the only one, that everybody's
right.
coming down with different versions of energy healing. and other
Yeah,
metaphysics.
I think that's what.
What is it?
I mean, that's really what we are. We are energy. We are this beautiful collective energy, and I know that we're going to have a massive shift in our world. I mean, it has to happen. We're at this beautiful tipping point, and I don't like to use the word good and evil because I don't believe that. I just believe there's different types of energy. And what I know is that most of us deep down, whether we want to have a conversation about the shifting in the energy of the past 3 years or not, it's there. I mean, it's absolutely there. I think there are some people that have ostrich syndrome. They're still having their head in the ground. They don't want to look up at what's going on. But that doesn't mean that the shift isn't coming.
Well,
And
everybody rides the roller coaster
yeah,
different ways. Some people
totally.
can't even watch. Some
Yep,
people want to be
totally.
in the front looking at everything. I mean,
Yep. Yep. And you're going to get there regardless. It's going to happen. But I do believe that the energy of the earth has to shift. If you understand nature, nature works in such a beautiful way that it doesn't fight change. We have change every season. There's in Hawaii, there's a wet season, there's a dry season. On mainland, there's the winter, there's the fall, there's the summer. There's a sunrise, there's a sunset. The moon goes through its full to small. It has to have a season of change, and we're simply at that season of change as a people, and that's something that's very important. These beings don't look at us as, okay, you're a mix of Tahitian and Hispanic. You're a human being. You're of this race. You're of this planet Terra, and they don't call it Earth. They call it Terra. This is Terra.
mm-hmm.
And
Terra is another word for Earth.
It's another word for Earth, but they don't call it Earth. They call it Terra. And they just simply want us to be able to evolve to where we need to be peaceably and not have all of this war and destruction. Now, we know in Hindu, especially, there have been many wars that have destroyed the earth. They're trying to keep that from happening again. And they want us to all understand that it could happen. But the only way that it's not going to happen is if we evolve consciously, is if we move into our higher beings and we leave the old paradigms behind. And that's where this frequency healing is so important, is that it's not just for the body. It's for who you are. It's for that essence that we talked about. It's for that God. It's for that spiritual being, that it can move you up into a place where you can look at things instead of just three-dimensionally. You're looking five-dimensionally. You're able to see that there are bigger and greater things. And one of my mentors told me one time, we think that the problems here on earth are so big. We tend to internalize all of the issues. But she said to me, if you back out of here, and let's say you go sit on the Crab Nebula, and you look back at Earth, it's a really tiny, tiny little place comparatively. And she said, now, if you're sitting up there, you're looking down, what isn't possible? Everything's possible. And I think once we as a people, we tend to look at all of us, that we all are brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and daughters, and we have these beautiful connections to one another. And only governments and elites and corporations want to have control. And once we step away from that, everything's going to get so much better. And that's where they're trying to move us towards. And it has to happen with healing. Love is the most important and the greatest thing that there is. And we tend to be taught that love is so many different things. Like, you have a love for your pet, you have a love for your child, you have a love for your spouse. Some people they have love for cars or for, material possessions. But love doesn't work that way. Love is eternal. Love is something that is, when you understand it, you are connected to everything. How could I not see the God in you or the beauty in you? And that's reflective of me. And once we as a whole people, we look at each other that way, we're going to be in this beautiful part of our existence, and there's nothing that's going to be impossible for us. And I believe aging will stop, disease will stop, hunger will stop, slavery will stop, all of those different things.
Right, right. The thing that we have these conversations in Buddhism all the time about pre-life planning and reincarnation. And I do book interviews on it as well. But the thing is that you have higher consciousness beings who've had many rounds in samsara, in different planets and in different galaxies, etc. coming in at this time to help in this transition to the next level of consciousness for Earth and the beings that live on her, like humans, for example.
Right.
And then you have, because this planet is open to all, so then you have lower consciousness being incarnating, with a lot of different resources to kind of help them experience their life as a business tycoon that's greedy and whatever the pre-life planning for that person is. The thing is that what many Buddhists, when we have these conversations about, okay, how does humanity move to the next thing, how do they navigate reincarnation, etc., the only way to that we know of to peacefully divert away from war
Mhm.
and feuding is to expose the strategy. Okay?
Yes.
That's it. The only way in order to prevent a war from escalating or from like really having havoc is to
Right.
expose the strategy, which
Right.
which is top secret, and they absolutely hate that when you expose the strategy. But when you expose the strategy, it uncovers a lot of ugly truths,
It
which
does.
is
Right.
heartbreaking for many people because the strategy is a lot of suffering and pain.
Right.
And so it requires a lot of healing because
Absolutely.
we're going to be basically pulling the band-aid off the problem to expose the strategy to
Right.
basically quickly accelerate us and
Yeah.
move us forward. So a lot of
Yeah.
energy healing, and the physical wounds can
Right.
heal, but it's the emotional and psychological and spiritual wounds that is going to be most damaging. And that's why this next level, fifth dimensional, higher consciousness healing technology comes into play, because many people heal in different ways. So
No,
I
you're
just wanted
100% right.
so
Yeah.
I
It's
wanted
it's
to
it's so true.
say that.
No, you're very true. It's imperative for people to understand that your vibration, your frequency of lower consciousness to higher consciousness, you need help. There isn't anyone that did it on their own. You can get pretty far down the journey, but unless you're immersed in that frequency, you won't know what it is. And that's where these healing devices are so imperative. They give you your body, your mind, your soul. They give you a taste of what higher consciousness is. And you're able then to go, oh my God, that's what that is. And I'm a true believer that anxiety and panic disorder and this depression that is just on a massive scale is you knowing there is more to you. There is a deep connection that you're missing. And the life vessel is so wonderful about giving you a little bit of that. And then you can go and pursue that. And you're able to heal from, I will say this, even past life, your emotional boundaries, your mental boundaries. And I'll share this quick story. So I had a young man last year come to me, and he had just gotten over COVID, and he was very ill. His blood work was a mess. He couldn't sleep because of anxiety and depression. And I mean, he's only 20. He was only 20 years old. So to me, a kid. And I said, well, what would you like to do? He says, I just want to feel better. I said, well, how do you want to feel? And he said, I want to feel free. I said, well, you need to do better than that. Describe what freedom means to you. And he sat there for a minute, and he looks up at me. He goes, it means for me to not have all of these burdens that I feel. And I said, well, what burdens do you feel? He goes, I don't know if this country is going to fall apart. I don't know if I'm ever going to get married. I don't know if I'm going to have kids. I don't know if the world's going to be around. I mean, all of this stuff started coming out, all of this fear. And I said, okay. I said, that fear is real. I said, I don't want you to say anymore. I want to put you into the life vessel, and then we're going to talk after that. So a life vessel is a treatment is 20 minutes. And we have 12 different frequencies in there in an oscillating scale. There's vibration in the bench, and it's all resonated through copper, stainless steel, shungite, orgonite, lots of different minerals, some crystals. and magnetism that's based off of the Earth's polarity in there. And we put him in there for 20 minutes, and he comes out and he falls into my arms. I wasn't expecting it. Falls into my arms sobbing, and he just starts crying. And he looks up at me and he says, "I have hope." That for me was one of my greatest days as a doctor. I don't care all of the things I've ever done. To give somebody hope where they can look down and they see a future. If you can't see a future, you're not going to last very long. You're not going to be very healthy. And I think most people aren't seeing that future. And the reason why they don't see a future is because they're not connected to the source. They're not connected to what you want to call God, the universe, the void. It doesn't matter. They're not connected. They have no instruction how to be connected. And how can you just take someone out of the depth of their disparity and try to give them a connection? It takes time. And that's where these healing technologies are so pivotal, because it can take out that time lapse for them and they understand there is something there, and then they pursue it. So what's really beautiful about him, he's total Buddhist now. This wonderful kid, came from a white family of Christians, which I'm not going to get into religion.
You don't have to be, but that just happens to be what it is.
What it is just he went that direction, and I hear from him almost weekly, and he's the happiest he's ever been in his life. Now, for me, that's everything as a doctor, as a healer. And it wasn't that I had to do anything but show him a little bit of technology for him to move in that direction. That was really cool for me.
Right. It's like, so when I describe energy healing for people who are not familiar with energy healing, whichever episode they pick up or whichever technology they come across through the Merkaba Chakras channel, because energy healing is one of the basic pillars of Buddhism. And Buddhism is it's a Sanskrit word from Bud, which means to wake within the matrix. There's no religion. It's just to awaken within the matrix.
Right.
And energy healing, like the Thankas of the past and acupuncture, Qigong, there's so many energy healings of the past, and there's many energy healing modalities of the future. A lot of the technology comes from the energy healing modalities and engineering of the future. So that's one of the pillars. There's also consciousness, because that's another technology, and the metaphysics as well. Those are the three pillars of the Merkaba Chakras channel. And we have these fun conversations, but the one thing that I found very interesting is a lot of the followers are young adults. That's the majority of the demographics. And they're looking for hope because they have been, they're looking around and they're watching the news and all this negative stuff and the psyops that's going on. And they're basically suffering from PTSD.
I agree, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and they have been looking and speaking to their parents, their pastors, and everybody else is sucked onto the psyops as well. So it's really hard to lead a whole bunch of people who are caught up in the roller coaster of all this exposing of the strategy. Okay, it's scary. Totally get it. And
it's so scary. Yeah.
It is very scary. And so when you change your frequency from one level to a whole cleaner level, it's like clearing out the film on your eyes and getting clear sight. And then all of a sudden you see much clearer and it's not so fuzzy and you don't struggle so much to have a clearer vision. It's like day and night. That's how it is. So it's a basic
100%.
understanding. Now, I'm curious because Buckminster Fuller, he had gotten, after his awakening in his 30s, he had gotten into sacred geometry, learning metaphysics, esoterics, etc. And he designed his geodesic domes based on sacred geometry after this, which he also learned through meditation and with his spirit guides. Okay, so he has conversations about his spirit guides that helped him create and understand the geodesic domes that he was creating. However, he used the icosahedron shape, which is all 5 platonic solids that fit into an icosahedron. So why did you choose to create the life vessel, flower of life shape from a dodecahedron instead of going to an icosahedron? Is there a reason?
There is a reason. And you're 100% right. If you understand platonic solids, you're right. The dodecahedron isn't all of them. It's almost, but it's the most frequency specific to the universe. is what it is. And so I was told to use this shape because when you're in it, you can become the universe. You are connected to the source more than any other shape there is. And, I think we tend as humans, we think more is better. Let's throw all the shapes together. Let's put them all together and let's do that. I think there is a place for it. But if we look at our ancestors, now we can go into, this is pretty cool. We're going to go into our ancestors.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This is really cool. We had technology here before.
Mm-hmm.
Our pyramids aren't just in Egypt. They're all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they were energy producers. And they're somewhat the only thing left from our great civilization. We can call it Atlantis. We can call it whatever you want. But we had technology, and healing wasn't as difficult as it is now. We make it very difficult because we take the frequency part of it out of it. We take the vibrational part out of it. We tend to think only chemicals can help, heal us. And I mean, that can go into what homeopathy is basically the essence or the frequency of an herb or a plant. And anyways, our ancestors understood the necessity of using these platonic solids in the creation of where we live, how we eat, how we breathe, how we grow food, all of these different things. We understand that that's a frequency. So if you and I were to use radar, and we were to take radar and to throw out radar, and we would get these images back of shapes, so we can see a shape. We're not using our eyes to see this. This is energy. This is sonar. This is sound that goes out, or radar that goes out, and it will paint us a picture. Now, that picture, when it comes back, is in vibration. It's in frequency. And that frequency number then paints a picture of whatever. It's either a pyramid, or it's a dodecahedron, it's a circle, it's a square, it's an airplane, it's whatever it is. And that signature then relays a message. Now, think about this. This is really important. Light does the same thing. So when we get sunlight, there is a message that comes through the sunlight to our body. So we're able to make vitamin D through sunlight because of the messaging system that is intact in that light. Shapes are really no different. If you understand quantum physics, everything is energy, everything is light, everything is movable. And so that frequency of that energy is then imparted into your cells, to your genome, to what you are. So it's very important that the shape that you live in, your homes, your workplace, the furniture in your house, we can go feng shui and talk about all that energy that's there. It's real. And you're down to your genome. And this is why it's so important with the life vessel, the shape of the dodecahedron. If we were to cut your DNA in half, it would be that shape. That's what we are. And so as it is above, so below. So that's where that dodecahedron shape becomes so important. It reflects the universe, what we are. And so it can get in and communicate right down to our DNA level.
Mm-hmm. I'm very fascinated between the energy healing technologies designed around the dodecahedron and the ones that are designed around the icosahedron, the fourth and then the fifth platonic solid. So maybe they both like maybe one precursor to the other. It depends on the person.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah, I'm not going to toot my horn and say I've made the best product in the universe. I don't believe that. I believe that I'm just here also as a help, and whatever help I can be. Do I think one technology is better than the other? No. That would be like saying, I'm going to tell you how to think, and my process of thinking is the best. I think it's ridiculous. I think, like you said, people should try these out. They should see which one works for them better. I think music is the same way. If I say, okay, this particular music is the best in the world, this is the one that we need to use, but you don't vibe with it, how can I tell you that that's the best one for you? It's not real.
Right, right.
And that's where I think healers need to check their egos at the door, doctors, and understand that healing is never one-dimensional. If it was one-dimensional, it'd be simple. And everybody has a different healing journey. When I work with people who have major pathologies from cancer to LAS to HIV, it doesn't matter what it is, their journey is going to be different, even if they have the same pathology. And I know it's very frustrating for people who want a cookie cutter system of healing. I couldn't tell you what it is, but this is where the beauty also lies. Because if you are willing to embark on this journey, the wisdom that you're going to receive is not just to heal you, but it's in part to the people that are in your life. And when you
Right.
can show them the beauty of that, you have done yourself and the universe a great service.
Yeah, I'm curious, when somebody goes into the regen pod, the life flower of the life pod,
Yeah,
does it print out their new calibration?
it
Do you know?
can.
Does it
Yeah,
really?
it can. It
Like
just really
you
depends.
see what you are, like you may be a certain
Yeah,
sequence and then afterwards
yeah.
you're a new sequence.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I do a lot of different things, from frequency, looking at the frequency that somebody's coming off of. But what I really love to do is look at your blood cells. This is really cool.
Mm.
Have you heard of Dr. Iamoto
Yes, I
with the
love
water
him.
studies?
Yeah.
Okay. I love his work. I remember looking at his work when I was a young man. I was in my early 20s. And I started to think about, well, as human beings, we are three-fourths water. We carry that water in us, our blood cells, our plasma, everything. So how is it that we aren't doing enough work with this? So I love to look at blood. So I use something called Barefield microscopy. I can't talk right now. Microscopy, where I look at it under a microscope, and you wouldn't believe. Well, I think you would believe the difference. When I have a patient who's very ill, most of the times the blood cells will be a different shape. Okay. Now that can be from nutritional deficiencies, mineral deficiencies. That can also be their frequency. And
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of times it is their frequency. So if you are very negative in your mind, I'm not beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm not worthy, you're thinking negative things, everything's a problem, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate my family, blah, blah, blah. You're going this, how could you not be affected like that water study? I mean, it's true. So I love to show people going, okay, here's some healthy blood cells. Okay, this is what you should look like. Here are your blood cells. Now we're going to do a pre and a post in the life vessel. It's amazing what happens. It's absolutely amazing. It's like their
Yeah.
blood comes alive. It looks beautiful. That's one way I
Yeah.
like to, yeah. But you feel it right away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can be the grumpiest person in the world and get in that thing, and you get out and you're smiling. And you just, it's wonderful.
Yeah. I love that. I've tried a lot of different energy healing machines, modalities, meditation practices. I like to study all of them, and I'm always so fascinated how creative all of these come out to be. But the the thing is that maybe because you always start with um healing illnesses first, mind, body, spirit. We're just missing spirit in the medical field, and we think spirit is
Always.
just a matter of connecting to the creator and to each other.
Yeah.
But also spirit is
Yeah.
to healing our aura field, healing our Merkabas into much higher resonance. So that's really spirit. But the mind body spirit connection is that whole approach. But maybe down the road, once we get to the point where we have really good technology for energy healing, and basically the new medicine of the near future is like a spa, which is my favorite. So,
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great.
this is
Yeah.
new medicine. Oh, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Let's see what you're coming in. Oh, you have all these issues, no problem. Get into the regen pod.
Yeah.
Here's your lifestyle recommendations. Da da da. So it's like a spa, and then you kind of like a whole wellness approach. So it's a completely
Yeah.
different approach to third dimensional medicine, which is cut everything up and just pill, pharmaceutical drugs, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the future technology of energy medicine and of modern medicine. But at some point, you're going to use what you've learned to also create kind of like a 3D printer of things.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So if you can regenerate somebody's body into good health, you can
Right.
learn the um the frequency combinations for creating a laptop, a chair, a spaceship, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And just like
Yeah.
Star Trek,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
replicators where they just punch in a bunch of numbers and then
No, it's true. It's the
now
elements are there.
the
Yeah.
elements are there. So
The elements
that,
are there.
that's where the
It's and
technology comes from.
yeah, and I know that is coming. That is going to be available to us. I know that. I've been told that. It's just we have to get people ready for it. And our ancestors didn't age. Our we we had some interesting things that happened to our ancestors. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tower of Babel in history, whereas basically, man, supposedly built this big tower. God didn't like it, and so he gave everyone different languages and put a cap on the amount of years we are going to live. Now, if you understand our genomes, our telomeres are what make us age when we look. This is very rudiment. This is very simple explanation. So we have caps on our telomeres that we can only go so long, and before we expire, our cells, then mimic what is being, given into our base DNA, and our RNA replicates this. And so we're kind of cursed in a way for whatever reason. I have my sources that have told me that we lost a great battle. We're prisoners, and we're just now breaking out of this prison planet matrix system, and we're all waking up to the fact that our gifts have been silenced. Our metaphysical gifts are anything from telekinesis to almost clairvoyancy to, we call it remote viewing, to our psychic abilities, our regeneration abilities, our immortality, all of these things. So this is the thing, how I know all of this is true. Why would you put an immortal soul in a vehicle that could only go 80 years? You wouldn't. You wouldn't have that. 80 years is a blink of an eye. So, well, what can you learn? Well, there's a lot of things that we can learn, but that's our spirit. That's our wonderful, beautiful spirits, that we take the good and the bad, and we can find abundance in those things. But the technology that's coming is going to unlock a lot of these mysteries that we have. And one of the things, I can comment on is our food is so bad right now.
Yeah, Dr. Martinez, I mean, we got radiation poisoning in our food, our water, our air, our medicines. I mean, how does LYFEw and your EMF products help us cleanse all of these nanoparticles, nanoparasites, whatever weird things that we're getting inundated with?
Yeah, a lot of people call them organellas, or the nanobots, or the nanotechnology that's in it. And I've seen it in blood work. My colleagues have seen it in blood work. There have been peer-reviewed journal articles that have talked about this. It's really simple to think about this in frequency. So if you have a technology that vibrates at a certain frequency, you only have to find the frequency that will turn off that technology. So for instance, in your EMF, in your Wi-Fi and everything, you could create a Faraday cage in your home that would keep the radiation out. But the smarter thing to do is to turn your frequency on in your genomes or in your home through technology to resonate at a different frequency that can repel these things. So a higher consciousness being and we've heard this. We know this with monks. They don't get sick. Now, they're not that they're not exposed to different pathologies, different viruses, different bacteria, different nourishments or nutritions, but they're able to maintain their vessel. Now, how do they do this? It's their frequency. So technology is there for those who don't have the discipline to understand how to move their frequency up. Yeah, we can block all those things. I mean, I've seen it in my technology. I've seen it in other technology that you can turn off even in something called the spike protein. So
we're going to get into this part of the conversation, and like, if you get the spike protein, or I'm just going to say whatever newest way that we get sick, because AI parasites is going to become like another aspect of parasites that we ingest somehow, and then there's probably going to be a whole nother random way that we never fathomed to make ourselves sick. So so let's say you got these spike proteins, you got these AI parasites. I'll put those links of those scientific journals in the show description so you guys can read the scientific research that is being done on the medicines for that. But let's say you got this. You got this through an inoculation. You got this through food. Somehow they have toxins or graphene oxide in the food. Let's say you got this through the water. Let's say you got this through the chemicals in the air. We don't really know how you got this, but somehow you got this, and you're DNA, your blood work, everything is damaged.
Right.
So modern medicine is trying to figure out how to fix this, maybe put a band-aid on this. But if you don't have the time or care to be the lab rat for modern medicine to figure this out, and you just want to
I
fast
don't recommend
accelerate, you want
I
to
don't
fast accelerate to the energy healing
yeah.
and the frequencies, because this next level poisons, the only way that many doctors that I've come across to regenerate damaged DNA is through the frequency healing and the frequency
Absolutely.
technology. So why
Absolutely.
is it so important to use frequency technology to regenerate the DNA? Can you explain that?
And I can make this very simple for everyone to understand. You are frequency. Your DNA, your genetics are frequency. You vibrate at it. Like if I was to take, I said this earlier in the show, if I was to take everybody's atomic frequency, it would be different, be completely different. So here's the beautiful thing. Your ability to overcome any of these things that are out there lies in how you resonate. This is very important. I'm going to repeat this again. Your ability to be healthy, to overcome this technology, whether it's whatever we talked about, is your ability to resonate at a frequency that does not allow those to survive in your vessel. You understand? So that's the simple part of it. That's a simple part of it for everyone to understand. So I'm going to go into something called EDTA, chelation. There's a lot of people that are wanting to use chelation therapy to get rid of these morganellas, the spike protein damage, blah, blah, blah. Now, I've seen it help people, but the thing that's difficult with this is EDTA is non-descriptive. It's going to take all the metals out of your body. You know, it's non-selective on the metals that it's going to take out. It takes out copper and selenium and magnesium and iron and mercury and everything else that
and zinc. Okay, yeah.
And zinc and all this stuff. Okay. Now, can it be a good tool? I've used it in my practice over the years. It can be a good tool. But right now, there's a lot of doctors out there saying this is the only way that we can treat this stuff. Now, here's the thing. Your body can only handle so many of those chelation treatments before you get ill. So it's not a way to combat this. So everybody out there, listen to me. Please, you have to raise your vibration. And how you're going to raise your vibration is not only how you think, but it's the frequencies that you have directed into your body. So our government knows this. Governments knows this. What went up in the last 3 years more than I've ever seen or we've ever seen in the history of mankind? All over the world, something called 5G towers, okay? Now, what is emitted off of these 5G towers? Is it anything healthy? No, absolutely not. We know the frequencies coming out of these towers are to control certain technology, correct? Everybody thinks it's for your phone. Okay, your reception on your phone. Anybody knows if you're in the city and you're right by a 3G or a 5G tower, your reception is no better than if you're 10 miles away. That's not what those are about. They're frequency emitters, and they are controlling the different technologies that are out there. I'm not the only one saying this. There's thousands of people out there saying this. I'm sure you've talked about this before on your show.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you combat that? You combat that the same way that in music. So if you have a C note, what's the note that cancels out a C note?
Mm-hmm.
A, B, C, D. So you have to play a D note in order to cancel out a C note. Now, I'm not a musician, so anybody who's coming at me, this is a relatively simple way of thinking about this. So those are the frequencies that I've put into the life vessel. Now, do I adjust the frequencies? I can adjust them specifically for the person. We can find that frequency, and we've had some great success that way. Yeah.
Right. And I'll put in the show description the links to the medical journals on 5G radiation and also on AI parasite in modern research. That's being studied by governments and universities all over the world on the NIH website and many other medical publications, so that you guys can see AI parasites are a real thing. And also is radiation through certain medical inoculations and other things that they put in our food, water, etc. So we can go down the rabbit hole, but there's really no point going down the rabbit hole on how people get these next level synthetic parasites or illnesses in their body. And these synthetic, I mean, you're like a host to a bunch of synthetic parasites, and viruses. And so they're really, really hard to detox, to get out of your body, because for some people, they have so much of this in their body and they continue to bring it more in, not knowing they just don't know that maybe the food, the air, maybe the inoculations they're taking, the medicines they're taking is continuing to feed more and more. So every time they detox, they feel better, and then more comes in because they don't know that they're doing the exact things that are contributing to this factory.
No, you're 100% right.
That's going on in their body. So it's really, so many doctors, and this will all come out, but many doctors around the world are trying to find ways to understand this and to help people basically get rid of it from the body and basically regenerate their damaged DNA. So you're saying the same thing that many others are saying. It's energy healing. It's these frequency technologies, because you have to change the frequency of the AI parasites to what happens, okay, let's say you find a frequency through the life vessel or through any of the other accessories that you have to get rid of the radiation poisoning, the detox, the repairing of the DNA, and the body, and then the recalibration, because obviously it's recalibrating the frequency to something healthy.
Right.
Do your clients, do they report what it looks like when these synthetic parasites come out of their body, or what's the process?
Yeah, it's different for a lot of people. It's sometimes skin issues. They'll come out through the skin sometimes.
Like what? Like what?
Like psoriasis. It'll look like acne. It'll look like bug bites, on their body, something like that. Sometimes it's through the bowels. I mean, even to the point where they'll have tumors in their bowels. Sometimes they get caught up in the detoxification organs. One of the big ones right now is renal failure, kidney failure, because kidneys detoxify the blood. So that will be a sign for me. And what's really beautiful is I've had more patients in renal failure this last 2 years than I've ever seen in my lifetime in practice. Young people should not have any problem with their kidneys. And we'll put them on the frequency, we'll put them on the protocol that we do. And within 2 to 3 weeks, their kidney function is back to 100% normal. So
what can they expect to happen when they go through? I call it, Spirit tells me there's 3 things for the people who are over wanting to be right. They're over that argument. They're just over it.
Right.
The people who want to just move on to the higher levels of consciousness, I keep getting regen. So repair the detox, repair the DNA, and then recalibrate. You got to recalibrate, kind of like when you have a car that's broken down. First, you got to detox, go through the whole thing, see what's the problem, detox all the stuff, and then you repair all the parts that you found damaged, and then you give it a tune-up.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I call my protocol. This is what I personally call my protocol. My protocol is basically it's like a healthy EMP, electromagnetic pulse. And so we've weaponized something called electromagnetic pulse, that we know if we have these electromagnetic pulse bombs that go off, it shuts down the grid. It will shut down our enemy's electronics, all of those things. And so that's what this frequency does to this nanotechnology, to all these things. It's like an EMP, but it's healthy. It shuts down all of the things that are not genetically supposed to be there, and it turns on your genetic potential to the highest point. That's what I'm finding it does, and that's what I coined that term.
Okay, so I have another question, because I like to I really like to deep dive into this technology with all the doctors that come up with these wonderful products.
No, I have to say again, this isn't just me. Those are
I know
blue beings that are there to help.
Oh yeah, I know. And thank you, Blue Beans. Um, so the thing is that I love to hear is I love to hear, okay, what are they finding from being the clients of these technologies? What is their experience in getting back to good health? And then after they get back to good health, what happens next to the body? So okay, so people have gotten ill, renal failure, heart inflammation, blood toxicity, blood clots from synthetic AIs, whatever. Come up with all the different ways in which you can screw each other up. Okay, so you're there, you're in that bucket, all right? And you want to heal, and you don't want to be a test rabbit or a lab rat for modern medicine to try all the black label drugs and et cetera on you. So you find somehow through spirit, you found LYFEw, for example. So you're saying that when they go to the detox and regeneration process through this technology, it's going to come out of their pores as skin issues. And then also they're going to have all these, it's going to kind of feel like they're having a roller coaster of problems, but that's actually the cleaning problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that people can expect besides?
Oh gosh, like we talked about, it can be different for everybody. I wish I could say it's mostly one thing or the other.
Okay.
I can tell my healing journey. This is very interesting. So
okay, yes.
I almost died last year. I was close to death. I went to travel. I do a lot of speaking in different places, and I went to Dallas, Texas, this time last year to go do some speaking, and I got COVID. But I knew right away it wasn't anything normal. I normally don't get sick. I haven't been sick with anything in years. I'm generally very, very, very healthy. I vibrate health. And I got so sick I had to call some colleagues in Dallas, some other doctors, to say, hey, I'm coming down with something. And I never experienced anxiety like I had in that moment. There were about 6 days straight where my heart rate was so high, my oxygen rate was so low. And I'd been around vaccinated people. I'm personally not vaccinated. You couldn't give me a vaccine ever in my life. I would never, even as a physician, I've never recommended them. I don't recommend them personally for myself. Of course, I would never take one. So I was simply only around people who had just been vaccinated. I was speaking at the seminar. There were a lot of other physicians, and most everybody, unfortunately, in this place got ill. And I got an ivermectin. I did the whole round of it. I was doing juicing, but I didn't feel right. Even after recovering from that, I got back on a plane. I came home and I had panic attacks the whole time, getting on the plane, getting off the plane. I had to take magnesium the whole time on the plane just to keep my heart rate under control. And I got off the plane and I got into the life vessel. I had my staff bring me right to the life vessel here in Kona, Hawaii. Got in it, and it was the first relief moment I'd had in 2 weeks of being very sick. Now, my journey of detoxing was this. There was 2 months of me having low kidney function. It's what we call EFGR, which is your glomerular filtration rate, was very, very low for me. Never in my life had I had that happen. My heart rate still wasn't right. My digestive system was awful. I had a coating on my tongue that was not normal. So I went to work finding my specific frequency on how to heal that. It took me about 2 weeks to find my specific frequency. And since then, I've developed more tech. And once I did that, so I slept with the frequency, got up with the frequency, kept going back into the life vessel. And within 2 weeks, I was back to 100% health. But I notice if I go out and I have to get back into that frequency because, like you said, we're constantly being bombarded by these things. So I've created a little protector device that people can handheld take with them. It goes right onto their phone. I can set it to your frequency specifically, and it does make a difference. It's like what I call the little EMP for us to deactivate that AI it's everywhere. Unfortunately, it's everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, the radiation is coming off of people.
Right.
So, and that's the medical science journals are saying that as well. And that
It
link is
is.
in the show description. And so when the radiation is coming off of
Yeah.
people because they don't know how they ingested it, it's going to it's going to have effects on certain people. The same exact story. My husband and I, in 2021, we never got the COVID flu or the genetically modified flu, and
Right.
we finally got it. Same thing. It was like this. This is something that we've never come
Yeah.
across. This is like on steroids flu.
Yeah.
And we never got the inoculations for unpersonal reasons as well. But anyways, but we got it, and I have the story for my experience on my website as well. But we got over it. We did the ivermectin protocol, everything else. We got over it within a week. But then I developed a severe cough. I had coughed so bad that I lost my voice, and it
Yeah.
took me 3 more weeks just to rehab my voice.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
so
very.
yeah, it was very, very interesting. But obviously I have my natural immunity. My family has our natural immunity, but we didn't get it until all of a sudden everybody started getting the shots.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I didn't have anything until everybody started getting the shots either.
So it is what it is, and it's going to be part of our reality. People are going to be getting this inoculation, that inoculation. If it's not in medicine, it'll be in food. If it's not in food, it's going to be in water. If it's not in water, it's going to be in the
Chemtrails.
air. Chemtrails, because they're trying to get rid of the sunlight for some reason.
Oh gosh, we know why. It's to cut off that communication.
Yeah. That light that has all the energy healing and the higher consciousness frequencies. But
Absolutely.
besides that, so we have all this, and then once they get better, what do they become superhumans? What happens?
That's up to you. I have seen people really reshape their lives, their being, their consciousness. I think that's really up to the individual on how they're going to conduct their lives. And I know there are some people that take this frequency, they take the upgrade, and they go with it. And they're like, oh my God, my life's on fire. I've never been happier. I'm connected. I feel grounded. I feel stronger. I feel better. And then there are those that they're not quite ready. And that's okay too. They keep coming back to the life vessel for a recharge, but they're not quite ready to take that next step. But it is pretty awesome to see the ones that are. I've had more people want to write books or learn an instrument or go traveling or learn a language. It's really beautiful things that you get to see with the upgrade. And it's always higher consciousness movements. And I love to see that. And that's, like I said, that's not me. That's what this universal frequency is. And it's always been here. It's free for everybody. And this technology, I want everyone to get their hands on. I try to make it accessible as possible. If people have financial difficulties, I don't charge. I want people to have access to this technology.
Well, not every state or every country has a life vessel to go try. However, you do have accessories. Let me share the screen, and we are going to go over some of the accessories that you offer on your website that people can try out. So these Blue Shield protectors, you have a couple of different options on your website that people can order. What are they? What do they do?
Yeah, these are the little protectors that are handheld. Actually, this is a cool story. I have children, and when the pandemic came out, and they were shutting people down in school, I noticed my children had to be on their devices a lot more, and I noted they were more irritable. They were fighting a lot more. They didn't want to listen to what I was saying. They had trouble sleeping. There was all these things, and so I go, my God, they're being affected by more Wi-Fi, more EMF. So what can I do? And I loved working with minerals in my other areas of medicine, and I knew that shungite, ordinite have a really wonderful protective abilities, especially for radiation EMF. In fact, everybody listening, I'm coming out with a water filter that's primarily going to be shungite based, and it's going to help filter out the AI from our water for us. But these are mainly shungite based with an electrical charge through them that permeates the ions into the atmosphere around the user. So it shields your soft tissue from that radiation, and it creates a charge so that if you do have AI in the body, it shuts that AI down while you're around it. It's the best I can do right now. Now, the Life Vessel is 10 times better than these, but these are wonderful little handheld devices that you can take with you. They plug into your car, plug into your phone, plug into your charger. I take mine on my plane when I fly. My kids all have them. They do help. They help quite a bit.
Yeah. So what do you recommend? Do you recommend the orgonite pyramid or the dodecahedron protector?
Oh gosh, the shape is really what cues you. If you want the pyramid shape or you want the dodecahedron shape, they all have the same mineral content, orgonite, shungite. I'm not going to give away all my secrets online right now. They have some other different minerals in them, but they're pretty cool. They work well.
Okay, yeah. Shungite's in a lot of the materials because it emits a Christ consciousness
Does
icosahedron energy field.
absolutely does. Yeah,
But
it absolutely
okay,
does.
so whichever shape you are attracted to, there are these accessory protectors that can get you started on your energy healing so that
Yeah.
we can regen your damaged DNA from these AI viruses. I'm going to call
Yeah,
them.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, and then there's another one. You have also even
Yeah.
more these little pocket size stickers that help also achieve similar um,
Uh-huh.
radiation protection. So you have a 5G protection shield, pocket stickers, and then also pendants. You want to talk about this? What makes
Yeah,
this
these are just
different?
simple. Yeah, these are just little. Even a little bit can help. These are just wonderful little things. My children actually make these,
Do they
and
really?
they do. Yeah, and you can put them on your phone. You can wear them like in a keychain. You can put them as a pendant on your necklace. You can, do a lot of things that can help. Our ancestors were very wise. They all wore protective materials on their body, bracelets, earrings, all of those things. And it was for a reason. Fashion is one thing, but they were very wise about them. They knew the protective abilities of all of these minerals. And I'm just bringing them back. This is just old wisdom from our ancestors.
Nice. And that
Yeah.
starts at $8.88. Super
Yeah.
affordable just to begin your journey. And
Right.
then you also have the Organite EMF
Mhm.
pocket stickers, and these
Yeah.
have even more intricate designs. You have the flower of life. You have
Yeah.
the Om over sacred
Mhm.
geometry. I mean, you have a lot
Yeah.
of you have Metatron's cube here. A lot of different ones
Yeah.
to interest different people. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so they all do the same thing to kind of help protect against radiation poisoning.
Right. Right. All of
Okay.
the Wi-Fi, the EMF, the radiation that's just abundant in on our planet right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Great price points to get people started. And then you also offer these blue health retreats in the Big
Yeah. I love
Island.
to do these. Yeah, you can come to the island, spend a week with us, and get some care.
Is this your staff?
No, this is actually some people who've come. So these are
Oh, okay.
patients from all over the world, from Canada, Australia, France, Germany, different people from all over the world. And it's really beautiful to get people together from different countries because we get to see how similar we all are. And you can really educate then when they go back to their places of origin, they can educate people that there is some hope out there. There's doctors out there that are willing to work with different styles of medicine to help you. And I can say this, besides coming for the life vessel and everything and the beauty of Hawaii, um, just to commune with people that are on the same level as you is very healing. Like talking with you, this is wonderful. I mean, to be able to go out into your community and have conversations like this isn't always a thing, and it should be. We should. And you brought up so eloquently earlier in the show that medicine looks at your body, psychology looks at your mind, and then we have religion over here that looks at your soul. But nobody puts it all together, and you are it all in one. So how do we move it together for the benefit of people. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to combine these things for people to have a healing in their life where they can go out and become better mothers, better fathers, better sons, better daughters, better people, more connected to God, and to understand that there is a higher level of existence than just going to work, being in slave mode. And your healing isn't something you have to put on the back burner. I know that working with patients for over the years, I don't have time to heal. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do this. I'm like, you do. You do have time. And it's important that you do that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to offer for people.
Yeah, and you have a lot of testimonials from worldwide audience that consumes the variety of accessories that you offer, and so you'll ship to different countries, obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course.
So if they happen to be able to come and test out the LYFEw in Hawaii itself, that's wonderful. Make a vacation out of it. But there are other accessories that you offer as well that people can get their hands on this blue light technology.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask you a final question, and I ask everybody of this. As it's obvious, in order to make it to the other side of this transition that humanity is going through, you're going to have to work on your personal frequency, whether it's through the technology like LYFEw and others, whether it's through personal work, but you're going to have to be fifth dimensional consciousness or higher, because this consciousness technology is not third dimensional.
Right.
Okay, this is fifth dimensional or higher consciousness. This is Christ consciousness, connection to spirit, etc. So that's the place, the frequency in which, in order to make it to the other side, to the good stuff that this humanity is going through, that's where you guys need to be. So the faster you guys can get there, the better the ride is going to be. In the meantime, for the many of the people who are not coming across this message, not coming across this material quite yet, they're getting dragged in with the reality, PTSD, psyops, the negative fear mongering, all that kind of stuff. It seems very hopeless, and so there are fifth dimensional people here. There's fifth dimensional technology that's coming in so fast. So in this transition that we're going through, do you have a last message for people so they can follow that ray of hope to the other side?
Well, that's a beautiful question. You know, the best that I can give, you can't lose hope. You know, hope is everything. And if you can't see a future, you won't have hope. You have to hold on to that future, that vision. And your vision can be different than anybody else's, but it has to have some beauty in it. And that Christ consciousness is the ultimate beauty. And if you understand what Christ consciousness is, that means that nothing is more important than me and you, because we're connected together. We have this beautiful bridge that is what we are, our essence. We share the same essence. We come from the same place. If you can hold on to that, you can heal from anything. You will find love. You will find peace. And ultimately, you will find this joy that's deep sitting. But that joy is your purpose. It all comes down to your purpose. And every day I hear from people who have the most depression, the most pathology, they don't know what their purpose is anymore. They've lost their purpose. And if I can give a gift to any of the viewers out there, the listeners out there, is that your purpose here is so important. Your gift to the world is so important. You only just need a little help to find it. Ask the universe for help. It will come. And I'm here. We have shows like this. You know, Vaughn is so wonderful into helping, you know, getting messages out. Contact us, you know, ask questions. It's okay. But don't lose sight of that beautiful future. Hold on to that with everything that you have. That's all I can give.
That's a beautiful message. Thank you, Dr. Matt Martinez. And thank you for offering your lifetime work in engineering very futuristic, ancient energy healing technology. Now, your life vessel and blue shield accessories align with the Merkaba Chakra's audience vision of modern medicine.
Thank
And
you.
so, for more information about Dr. Matthew Martinez's offerings, please visit his company website, which is blueshieldtech.com. And thank you kindly to our listeners
Thank
for
you.
listening to another enlightening conversation. Until next time, blessings.
Blessings.
Mwah.
Blessings.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension. For more information about today's guest, please go to the show description. For more information about Vaughn's metaphysical work, please go to merkabachakras.com. The views expressed today are for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or replace any medical or legal advice. Don't forget to subscribe for more interviews about the fifth dimension. Until we meet again, blessings.